Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another web series with Read, Write, Think, and Code with Sharon and Renee. And we are so excited to have you back. Today, we're going to dig into a concept that's really near and dear to my heart because we're going to integrate some glorious technology, and we're going to talk a bit about audio recordings and how that is helpful for our students, both in person and virtually, helping them learn to read, write, and think, and give them a couple of different alternatives in terms of thinking about listening to the vocabulary, reading the vocabulary, and then comprehending. So Renee and I have been working on syncing together and figuring out a good streamline of some great audio recording tools that we know to be great in helping our students. So let's just dive in. Renee, do you want to start with Sharon a little bit about your experience, about how you've been using them? I've been using them for years, especially because teaching coding, I need a variety of ways to teach kids on how to do something. So, and you have really been leveraging them in this virtual world.
Yeah, it's what's so interesting is I've moved from a virtually no tech to low tech to in between tech teaching. And so I feel like through my conversations with you and trial and error and teaching students over the summer and teachers since spring, I'm like hovering in between like zero, low, and middle tech. And honestly, we're a place where I never really thought of opportunity before. I'm really excited about returning to traditional brick and mortar because I really do see the value that having just a handful of tech tools can really support and balance not only your teaching, but the learning experiences that students are having with their reading and their writing and their mathematics and their science, really just all of their learning. So I'm really excited to share a little bit about that. So there's two main places that I've been thinking a little bit about that I'd love to share with you of how I'm leveraging the audio recording tool. So the first is thinking about it in terms of the teaching in the literacy world, first thinking about teaching of reading. And so much of our reading experiences, we can create shared experience together with students, is reading aloud with students. And you and I have talked about reading aloud before in previous sessions. And right now, even as I'm saying this, my friend Rebecca Bellingham has this saying that I love: we never outgrow a read aloud. So regardless of how, what age of students, right, at home, if you've got little ones or even older students, or you're teaching little ones or older students, we never outgrow a read aloud. So it's been interesting to put our minds around how a recording tool can extend and leverage that read aloud experience. So there's a couple things to think about, how I will actually use the recording tools, and then scheduling in terms of increasing student engagement. So there is this balance between kind of avoiding all or none recorded and having a nice balance between both. So thinking a little bit about maybe even starting a read aloud in a live stream or brick and mortar, and then recording just part of the read aloud for students to listen to and extend kind of on their own at home or away from you, away from the whole group experience. I'm also thinking a little bit with my good friend Christy Mraz. She's encouraged me to think about this, is letting kids choose a read aloud that they want to be a part of, and then they can they can listen to the recording of it and then be in a discussion together with their peers or with you coaching them through it. So let me show you a tool that I've been able to use.
I really like that idea as you're beginning to share the screen. There's two pieces that came out to mind in thinking about the word balance, balancing the way in which we're using the technology and the in-person piece, whether we are teaching virtually or in person. And the second piece is I like the way you said, in a collaborative effort, where students each get to choose a role. If you could think about this even in the middle or high school level, this is a great opportunity for students to be able to read aloud a certain role or paragraph in a book, and then use that as a way to almost create like that. There's a new theme now in podcasting where you have listening to people doing plays or stories aloud, and they read them with all these different characters that come in to read it. It'd be like reinventing that, but you're doing it on a recording.
she has a radio show, basically, I think is what you're describing, right? From the, I don't know what year, we should do some research, but I'm sure the 20s or the 30s, right before television. It's pretty incredible to think about how we're coming together around, radio. It's essentially as a podcast, and even having different incredibly talented actors do that. But also you can imagine doing that with students, right? I think, the equivalent a lot of people know is readers theater in classrooms, but could you imagine writing a play? I'm like making this up as we speak, but could you imagine reading or writing a play, like reading a play, listening to a play or radio show, and then being inspired to write your own and then produce your own? Would be incredibly engaging, and all the literacy opportunities in it.
Yeah, I mean, I just wrote that down, readers theater, because that was the word I was looking for. But it's a great way for kids to read something that's already been written, like just said, and then rethink it differently. Or you could even think about it this way. They could read a story that's at their own reading level and then recreate something that they could read to a younger age group.
I love, yes.
Thinking about that same theme, like how do they take that same thing, the book that's relevant to them, and then recreate it at a level which they could read to elementary school students or preschool students or even above. But just a lot of that mentorship is another way to showcase your reading skills. Okay. We this is what we do, y'all. We digress. We come up with all kinds.
Wait, there's one more. I have one more digression on there, just in case.
We have more. Okay, more digression.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So I taught you too, right? We taught older students, and some older students are still developing readers. So what you just said, Sharon, is an absolutely incredible, authentic opportunity for students who are a little bit older and a little bit more developing to work on their decoding and fluency skills and comprehension. So to practice on a text that might be, just feel really solid in terms of an entry point. So if they had a book buddy or a book partner, that they would, like a younger book buddy, maybe the younger book buddy picks out the book and hands it to them or sends it to them or tells them what they want to read. And then the older adolescent or, elementary or middle school, or the older student practices, and even practices those think alouds. And so it's a real safe space, and they could also act it out together, and discuss it together. I'm also now even thinking of like people in our community, like maybe there's, kids in kids in a hospital, or older people in nursing homes that just love that idea of connecting. And so could our students partner with somebody in the community to practice reading aloud fluently and dramatically? Your wheels are turning. Tell me what you're thinking about.
And what about that is that then, there's an area with our seniors where they have a little bit of apprehension about using technology. This would be a great way to help them leverage using Zoom or Facebook or any of the other live interactions, where they would get to practice using technology and the students would get to do some reading and interaction. And for our seniors that have been in a place of isolation based on the current environment, this would be a great way for students to be able to have that interaction and be meaningful on both ends. I love that. I love that a lot. That would be,
I think that's a great.
That also puts a little bit of that tech bug, and it shows that the young people can also show some of the for the senior citizen that may not know how to use it, and that's another great teaching moment, and overcomes that perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use that we've talked about before. It gives students that ability to show someone else how to use it.
The idea of like using an audio platform or technology in general to not only engage but create community is such a worthy experience, and I imagine to be healing as well.
Love it.
Okay, so let's show you
Let's show them what the tech tools that you can use.
Perfect. Okay, so here is a simple. I'm not even going to say simple, because when I'm learning something new and somebody tells me it's simple, I feel like I get so angry at them. But here is a fairly straightforward audio recording app. I found it on my phone. And so I imagine if you have a tablet or some kind of smartphone, the idea of a voice recorder. So if you see this, let's see if I can get my pointer here. Look at this. Woo, look at this. So this middle picture here is basically, I searched, I'm sure there's even just one on your your device. Voice recorder, this happens to be through Google Play. I installed it. This picture over here is the interface of what it actually looked like. And this was all trial and error. So I pushed the red button, and the equalizer here, these little, started to move when I spoke. And I'm like, great, it works. So I grabbed a text that I had read aloud with students. This was for a writing exercise. So we had analyzed this text over and over again as readers and writers. And I wanted them to extend and listen to the text a little bit more with some of the lenses I had given them. And so I'll over here on the left-hand side is what it looked like, was what the screen looked like after I ended my recording. And all I needed to do is just type in a file name. And what I loved on this right-hand side was that little send arrow thing there. I don't even know what it's called. And so I could email it, I could text it, I could drop it into a Google slide, whatever mode that you've been communicating with your reading buddy, your reading partner, or your children or your students. And then this picture is what it looks like on like the desktop of my phone. So I can just push that voice recorder. So let me make sure that you can hear it. I'm gonna share my sound. Here's what it sounds like, just so you can hear the quality.
Jasmine's Notebook by Nikki Grimes, June 10th.
So I really like the idea of a voice recording app where honestly, it's just me kind of speaking into the microphone. It was fairly approachable in terms of me just giving myself a little bit of permission to practice. And I just did a straight read aloud. Again, you could also pause and, let students know, okay, I'm going to think about that. So there's no visual component. So you just want to think a little bit about, straight reading or inserting, a little audio cue that you're thinking aloud because they can't see you or the text was really helpful. Can I show you one more, Sharon, and then have you talk into this?
Yeah, but I want to say, bring up my phone as a iPhone user. And then down here on the bottom, you see where it says voice recorder. So on an iPhone, so similar to what Renee was mentioning with your Google phone, if you have an iPhone, most of them already have the voice recorder on it, but you can always search the App Store for the same purpose. The reason why we both like this is that it's easy. It's already on your phone, and all you have to do is share it and use it and record. So it's a very simple, if you want to do a quick reading of a text, and I'm thinking, Renee, even if you're in middle and high school and maybe you're not reading a book, or you're reading some informational text, or you're reading from a blog or from a magazine, whatever the read aloud is, this is a great way to do a quick recording and be able to share it very quickly on Canvas, in an email, etc. And like she said, you can still it saves the file exactly the same way, and you can use it. So just a side note that in addition to what you saw on the Google Play, and remember that if your kids are using Chromebooks, that's a great way to record as well with the Google Play that Renee showed you. If you're an iPhone user, there's equally the same opportunity.
I'm hearing a pushback voice in my mind just to look at things critically, right? Someone might say, why can't I there might be an author, an author might be reading their own book aloud, or even an actor, or I've seen lots of incredible people offering their voice, right, to reading aloud text. And I think those are also incredible to incorporate into the balance of your opportunities to invite students into reading aloud a text together as a community and thinking about them. Here's the thing that I would just note to consider is their name, right? You know their voice, you know their name, and you are really important in their community, whether you're the parent, a caregiver, or whether you're their teacher or tutor or aunt or neighbor. And so I think it's important that they also hear you, and also it's an experience that you've created, right? It's not gonna be all or none. So there's gonna be a little bit of buzz and conversation around this text that you're choosing to record for them. It won't just be, it's not really a sub plan. Like I'm not just sending you auto files randomly and saying, there's going to be a community built around that. So I think just having a nice balance between you and members of your community, even including people like authors and actors who are also offering their read aloud as well.
So can we show them, so we've done the recording on our phones, which both of us love. Can we show them the Audacity app that can be downloaded onto your computer? And this is a great way to add in a little bit of a bit more editing.
Okay.
Oh, look, there's my favorite person.
So speaking of a step-by-step, Sharon, right? Because remember, I went from no tech to low tech. I do have a podcast, as do you, and this is the one platform that I use to edit the podcast platform, and it is Audacity. And look at that, right here I am actually recording a read aloud. That's Fireflies by Julie Brinklow. And you can even see in the background kind of what the audio looks like.
Audacity is a free platform that you can download. Go to audacity.com and you can download it on your MacBook, on a Google Chrome, or on a PC. So what's really cool about this particular platform is that you can import audio or you can record directly on Audacity. So you can see up there where Renee is pointing to record, you can literally just start recording and then edit from there. Or if you have multiple recordings from your students, you can import them and drop them. But what I love about this platform, it's super simple, is that that red line there will allow you to edit in and out audio. And you'll see that you can also add in multiple lines of audio. So maybe you've got an introduction that you want to use. Totally can use it, okay? This may take you a little bit of time to sort of maneuver around, but it's been a great, if you've been in education for some time, you know that Audacity has been around read aloud for testing and for other pieces. But this is a really cool way that even if you gave your students a project, they can use Audacity to record and add in each other's audio to complete a complete audio file.
I'm going to just show a little bit of that, what you're talking about. So I just, Sharon, I just recorded you. Let's see what it sounds like here.
Pointing to record, you can literally That's awesome. And actually it's not terrible audio.
So, yeah, and that's just through, so sometimes if I'm recording Sharon and I can also drop in the audio of just this Zoom call. So if you have if you have a video, you can peel off the sound, and then I'm going to actually mute Sharon here just so you can hear it. Hopefully this isn't too loud. And then this is just we talked about importing a file. So here is a little bit of just that little, and I'll show you how to edit. So all you got to do is take this little, I'm pushing my mouse down and I've highlighted that, and I'm just going to hit the delete button and it is gone. Pretty cool, right? Yeah.
It's so simple. I mean, and here's the thing, I would practice with it, play around doing some recording and edit it and unedit it, things like that. But the children pick up very quickly on how to use it. And if they record it on here, they can export it and drop it right in here into Audacity.
Absolutely. So let's say as a classroom teacher, you're thinking, okay, so what do I do with that? So let's open a new slide deck. This could be just kind of real fun to show. So here's a new slide deck. You can go to Insert, and you can see there's an audio insert right here. And so I can go to any audio clips I have saved. So that could be, those are those recordings I showed you earlier. This could be my Audacity file. There's Brooklyn Nights, you heard that a little bit. So let's just import that. It's down here's my little, look at that. And then you could just make a little directive for kids to say, okay, click on here, and boom, there's my audio recording. So we're hearing feedback, I'm sure you are as well, is, okay, so how do we help kids organize all of these tools that we're using? So if you could make just a slide deck that kids are using, and you could just say, go to your slide deck and import it there. And Google Slides has a really nice option to just import both audio and visual files.
Love it. So we've shown two different tools today, that are pretty simple for educators and caregivers to use, because we can think about this too. Even as a caregiver, you may want to do some recording of books for your child to listen to, or if you're supporting supporting an educator, supporting a family, this is a great way to do some audio recordings, even for nighttime reading, right? So we have used our phones as a way to do recording. We have also shown you how to use a platform called Audacity, which is free, that you can download to do some audio recording. Remember that, as Renee mentioned before, we're never too old for a read aloud. You can read aloud all kinds of things that will bring more value and content or context to your content. I love what Renee said about the balance. Finding that balance. If you notice kids are starting to get antsy-pantsy, that you can say, hey, let's listen to this audio recording and take a break from talking to one another, or just listen, just use our listening skills. And this obviously can be done in virtual or in person. It's a great method. Across the board, you can always add that audio recording.
The equivalent of all of that we're saying could be in storytelling too. So I know we're thinking about reading aloud books to one another to build community, but I'm also imagining using the same tools in storytelling. So like the writing component of that. So creating and composing our own stories. And could you imagine how fun it would be to have a shared experience around, okay, we've got 3 characters going on right now, even in like writing slides, writing pods. Okay, we've got 4 of us. Let's create a story with 4 characters. Where's it going to take place? They can practice changing their voice and recording the story on one of these tools, and then giving it to another team in their classroom, or again, giving it to their partner, whether that's an older person in the community or a younger student in the school community, could be really fun as well. So I think there's both a reading and a writing connection to these 2 tools.
Absolutely. And I like you mentioned, we always, our theme is always, we always go back to the concept of storytelling, because storytelling is really what drives us. And we do that reading, writing, and when we're writing code. If we think about how we're even processing the ability to understand what we might use coding to do, or think about who wrote the code to create these apps, that on the back end, they were thinking about that storytelling piece. Thank you all so much for joining us on this episode of Read, Write, Think, and Code with Renee, where we talked about using audio recording to help with the reading process and to elevate the balance of your classroom by using audio to teach reading and writing and the process of thinking through the algorithm of a code. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.